So this is a songwriting class. We're your songwriting teachers, right?
Right. I hope so.
Um, and but I say that jokingly because we don't have like a whole lot of an agenda really, other than you're here and you want to learn more about writing, and um, I'm here and I want to learn more about writing, and so the best way forward really would be just to have a conversation. I kind of, and so I want you to know, like, a conversation is like what we want to have, and we don't. I didn't bring like an outline with 10 points and this is how to write a song, but we did sort of put some framework in place with just, I thought maybe some starting points of conversation might be. I put when, why, and for whom. Um, I thought that might be a good way to at least start looking at, like, you know, when I'm writing a song, when does it happen, why does it happen, and for whom does it happen? And I have some thoughts on that. So I'm Jason Ingram, and this is Paul Mabury, and
We're here.
we're here, a little tired, a little worn out, but grateful for this opportunity to be with you guys um, and talk about songs. So. The other thing I want to just make sure you know is that we've got like 45 minutes, and if we just talk about what we think you want to know, or what might help you, we'll probably miss everything you need. And so, like, um, at any point, anybody's like, I have this question. Um, please do that. That helps us out so much. And Paul's. Paul always gets some sort of awesome answer.
That's too much pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, isn't it? He's got a word for someone here, and it's only going to come if you ask a question. But I'm a we have a it's really a side project, but it's a band that we do together called One Sonic Society, and um, so a few times a year we'll get to head out and lead worship and get out of what our day job is, and our day job is really just writing and producing, and so that's what we do Monday through Sunday, and so hopefully we've learned a few things along the way. Been doing it for a long time at this point, and I'm still sort of in awe of the mystery of songwriting. I think I think it's one of those things that, like, there's not a whole lot of teaching that can really happen around songwriting. Honestly, like, so often you hear somebody's first song. I've encountered this a lot, especially in worship songs in church. Like, somebody's their first song, and it was like the song that God used more than any other song, and so I do think there's a lot of mystery in it. I don't think there's a whole lot of mechanics. You guys know that songs have verses and choruses and bridges and things like that. So, but I don't think the mechanics are really that helpful. So, I thought
They're really not.
no. So I thought I'd start with just kind of random thoughts on why, when, and for whom we write songs, and then the minute anybody has like a thought to share with the rest of us, a question that might start a conversation, then bring it on. So is it cool? Make sense? When to write songs. The reason I wanted to say that to you guys is because I think it's really important that I think you might think the answer is all the time. And that could be, but I don't think that's how it goes. You might also think the answer is, well, when I'm inspired, and I don't think that's how it goes either. I think when you write songs is when you put it on your calendar, and so I always want to say that when I get in rooms with songwriters, because I think we often wait around for time or inspiration or that thing that's gonna, that moment, or we think that we're just always writing. And there's a certain amount of that, you know. I mean, we're always sort of looking at things and listening to things and locking away things that strike us that we might want to talk about. But if you don't put on your calendar when you're going to write a song, you're not going to write a song. And I always like to say that it's always interesting to me. I've been a part of songs that God's used in really big ways, and when if you ask me when I wrote those, I could open up my calendar and I can show you the day I wrote them, because every single one of those songs came from an appointment that I had on the calendar. And so if writing's something that you feel like, well, I'm going to do it twice a week, then for 4 hours, and then put it down every Monday and every Thursday from 9 to 1, I'm writing. And and if you do that, you'll have songs. And if you don't do that, you won't have songs. Do you have anything to add to the when to write songs? It's pretty clear, right? I've inspiration's a big deal, but there's just no exchange for just sitting down with pen and paper or a computer and a guitar and a piano and writing a song. I write for, I spent a lot of years writing songs for more of just sort of like the Christian radio side, and I did a lot of that and really loved that. And then and these last few years have been focused a bit more on songs for the church, and the significant songs on both sides. Every one of them happened just because they were written down to do so. So there's discipline in that. Any questions on that? I'll move on to, yeah.
Do you give yourself a deadline when you say you map out 4 hours for yourself? You say, I'm going to write, complete in one song, or I'm just going to write and see what happens, or how's the discipline?
I don't give myself. I'm just disciplined in the process of writing. To me, the song's not done until I'm happy with it, and so that doesn't happen on my timeline very often. Co-writing is really helpful in that, because you're much more likely to finish a song. But yeah, so for me, it's not about finishing it. It's more like, I'm gonna write this day, and so. Andy Cherry here is an artist on Provident. Amazing. Write his name down. Check out his music. We did his record a year and a half ago now, I guess, but it's an amazing artist. But like, the songs on his album all happened from just getting together at 10 o'clock, right? Almost every one of them. You got together with somebody at 10 o'clock. And maybe the song is tweaked later, but most of the time you can get a song. People are at different speeds. You saw, some of you sat in on that class yesterday where a song was written in front of the class, and that song was written in 45 minutes. I didn't hear it. I don't know if it was a good song. It was okay. You're not going to sing it, but you did? Was it good? So, 45 minutes. But
You wrote a song in front of people? Is that what
no, there was a couple people that wrote a song, and yeah. Benji was involved in that. Yeah. Did that answer your question? I'm not concerned about finishing until I'm happy with it.
I know lots of different songwriters have different disciplines and how they structure songs. So
I have something to add to that. You know what? There's natural time pressure if you're writing for records that'll force us to finish a song, which is a really good thing, I think, because it applies pressure to the creative and forces creative people to finish. And then you may not be finishing a song because you just haven't finished it yet, or you need to get it to someone else to let them hear it. Maybe they can help you finish the song. But then sometimes you're not finishing a song because you're afraid, because a song's not truly judged until you look at someone and say, this is the song. And it's kind of can become a crutch, especially if there's someone here who's got 6 unfinished songs. It may mean you really just, you're afraid to commit to the song and say, that's my song, or that's the song we wrote. Because when it's finished, right? It's like a record. Or it's like an artist. I see it happens quite a lot these days, where someone makes a record on their own with an Ambox or whatever, and they show it to people and say, well, I just did it on my laptop. And people go, oh, it's really great. Oh, imagine what he would do if he got signed and did a record with it. But then once you get signed and make a record, then that's the record. There's no real excuse. So there's a lot to be said for just finishing it and allowing it to be a chapter in the story and not the novel. Does that make any sense? Like, I think especially if you're new to writing, the pressure is to write the greatest song ever, and that can tend to take a long time, you know. So whereas if you just go, oh, I'm going to write a page in the story today and let it get some oxygen. I don't know if that helps, but maybe sometimes that can just help you just to be, don't build it up, just get it done and just let it get out there. It just may be a great song, you know. What?
Do you have any guidelines for co-writing with people, and how to get started in that process?
Guidelines for co-writing is the question. Well, I don't have guidelines other than the you have to enter a co-write willing to not win. There's no when you're writing a song by yourself, all of your ideas win, and when you're writing a song with someone else, it can't be that way. And if you get in a room and that's sort of the feeling is that my ideas need to win, there's a whole lot of conceding that goes on in a co-write. So you need to trust the people you're with, you need to respect the people that you're with, and you need to trust the process, because the beauty of co-writing is you're not going to write a song you'd ever written by yourself. And so why strong arm a writing session to the point to where you wrote a song you would have written by yourself? I don't want, if you and I write a song, I don't want to write a song I would have written by myself. I want to write a song that sounds like you and I wrote a song. And so just know that, like, there's a lot of surrendering of just sort of your thoughts in those process, you know. It's best if you both land on something that you love, but often, like, I'll think, well, I'm not sure about that section, but Paul feels really good about it, so I'm going to live with that for a little bit and see if it starts to settle for me. The guidelines for co-writing, I mean, these are sort of like very mechanical sort of things, but it's nice when your strengths sort of like offset each other a little bit. So it doesn't always pan out that way, but someone that, like Benji, is an incredible lyricist. He's great at melody and a great worship leader, but he's just an incredible lyricist. So that's a weakness for a lot of us, and so it's nice to think about, like, so if maybe words aren't the thing I'm strongest at, who's someone I can reach out to that can represent the other side of this. So those are kind of basic things I think about. The other thing I would say is if within like 2 hours you're not started on anything, you're best off to just go get lunch, because sometimes you can put pressure on that situation and walk away, and the relationship feels different, because it's like you put pressure on that. Oh, we had to write something, and you just need to. I'd give it 2 hours and know that if we don't have something, it's okay. Like, it's okay. Let's go get lunch. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to write the best song we've ever written. I've written with if Paul and I don't get it that day, it doesn't mean we shouldn't write songs together anymore. It just so that's another thing. I think sometimes we put pressure on ourselves that we've sort of walked on around my deck for 3 or 4 hours at times and not gotten anywhere, and had to just go, nah, it's not. Let's go get something to eat. It's okay. Yeah. That's a good question. Her question was, because songwriting has become a career for us, how do you stay in love with it, and how do you how does it not just become a career? It's a great question. I don't have a great answer for it. I even was just thinking a little bit ago, like with someone else's question, I was thinking, when he asked, do you finish a song? I had to finish a song before I came here today, and that was sent to me, and it needed new verses, and I'm leaving town tomorrow, and I told him on Monday I'd have it to him, and I just haven't been inspired. And so today I woke up and I went into my music room, and I had to send him something, and I did, and it was a career. That was like the career guy. And I'm still grateful for that a lot of times, because I get forced, like Paul said, in ways that you guys don't at times, to have to finish something. And what I sent them was awesome. But I had to, like, it wasn't for 3 hours. And but the how do you stay in love with it? I've never written songs that I didn't need to write. I know this town is full of rooms where people get and write songs they don't care about. I've never been one of those guys. I don't write every day. I know a lot of writers here will write every day, sometimes twice a day. I don't do that. So for me, maybe I have a bit of luxury in that I produce as well, and we travel a little bit. But it is hard when the thing that you love becomes the thing that you do. You have to constantly remind yourself what a privilege it is to get to do what you do. And so to be completely vulnerable, that's why I'm here. Because I don't this isn't like a great thing for me or my family to be here. But as far as career, but you guys remind me that, wow, like I get to write songs that people sing and hear, and so I try to be involved in things like this 3 or 4 times a year, if nothing to encourage, but also to be reminded that, like, and the other thing is we pray to stay passionate. Like, Paul Balashu, I think, is involved in these things quite a lot. I don't know, but I remember one of the first times I got with him to write a song, he just started praying against, like, any thought of, like, well, that we might make money on the song we're about to write, that all of that would just be so far away from our ambition, because that can really mess you up too. So that's a tricky thing. My second thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was why we write songs, and so that's exactly what you're hitting on there. Why we write songs is, for me, the answer is because I need to. There's a psalm. My friend Mike D, who's in a band called 10th Avenue North, he pointed out there's a psalm where the psalmist says that we write to unriddle our hearts, and I think so much of songwriting for me is because there's just so much riddled in my life, and so I write songs to say things that I need to say, or to help me to unriddle the things that are mysterious to me. And So if you're writing a song because you don't want to write a song because you think you might make money from it, and you don't want to write a song because you think it might be a hit. That's one of the things that's always a little weird to me at times in this town is a lot of people get together with the ambition of like, well, we just need the album is missing a hit, so we need a hit. And I kind of I've been here for a lot of years, and God's really done things with my songs that are beyond me, but I've had a lot of hits, and I never wrote one of those thinking I was trying to write a hit, ever, not one. And so I was just writing something that I was loving at the moment, and that was just something I needed to say, and I've just never seen that, like, okay, so you got together and you know you need that hit, and so you're writing what you think that is, and then I've never seen that happen and then that go on to be a hit. Yet, like, there's 500 rooms in this town right now that have people in it trying to do just that, and so it's not a good reason to write. Yeah.
How do you sort of keep it in your heart that like you're trying to get the heart of God on the paper and in this music and just what you're talking about, and not lose sight of that into I've got to write other songs because you got this now. How do you just keep the spirit in that mindset of trying to communicate the truth of God to people that feel
Want me to? You have anything on that?
Big question.
I don't try to put God's heart into music for people, and yeah, I actually don't even approach it that way. Like I still write truth about God for myself, and so maybe that's where it just stays. If I write a song about God's power or God's strength or God's provision, it's because I'm in a place in my life where I need to confess that truth so that I believe it. Does that make sense? Like, so often, like, what do I not believe about God in my circumstances right now? Well, I'm going to confess that about Him today, the truth of that about Him today. And sometimes that might be in a song where I'm talking to someone else, but really all I'm doing is saying something that I need to believe. So I start from that place. You have any other thoughts on why we should write songs?
Why we should write.
Why write songs? I had one other thought on that. Now that I've asked you, I always wanted to write songs that the church would sing. I was always, since I was a teenager, I really fell in love with God in some worship times that we had on the beach with our like high school group, and there's the worship music wasn't what it is now, but Vineyard was sort of like what was sort of the front lines, and I grabbed an acoustic guitar and learned 3 chords and just joined in on, and I was really like not walking with the Lord at all, and I grew up in a Christian home and really struggled in my faith a lot, and in those times of just playing those songs on the beach, I really became awake to God, and so ever since then, like songs that are sort of a corporate expression of worship, I just think there's power. There's God's transcendent presence is in that place in a way for me that I don't experience in other things, and so because of that, I've always thought that's the most sacred, beautiful, awesome use of a song, and ended up living in Nashville, and I ended up writing songs. And um, uh, about 3 years ago, I was thinking, I've had the success, and I've had these songs used in so many amazing ways, but I've never written a song that God really used in the church. And I thought, why should I write? Why should I try? Because there's too many there anyway. I don't know if you ever feel that way. Like, why should I try? There's just too many. And I still think about that quite a lot. But I remember really struggling with that and taking that to the Lord, going like, this is sort of an unmet, like, felt like a God dream on my life. And I really struggled with pursuing it, because there's just so much out there. And there's so much that was great. And so why is my little song that I might try to write, why does God need it? And I really, what it really came down to for me, I felt like God was teaching me, was it's not about what's out there. It's not about that there's 50,000 songs out there in that same place that I would like to put a song. It has nothing to do with that. It's only about, like, well, what's he made me passionate about, Like, has God put a passion in your heart for something? Has God given you a dream? And we often talk about those things as though they're bad things, like our dreams are ours, but you're not the author of your dreams. God is. And so when God puts a dream in you, I needed to quit worrying about why the world needed another song that they would hopefully sing in church, and I just needed to stay true to, well, this is a dream you gave me, so I'm gonna ask for those kind of songs, and I started writing those kind of songs, and then God's used a lot of those, but it's not about what's out there. It's just about what God's asked you to do, and what dream has He given you that He's put on your heart. Yeah.
So you've written a lot of corporate church songs. You've also written a lot of artist songs, radio songs. Do you approach those differently when you sit down to write? Do you know which one's going to come out and write with that much purpose, or do they morph into one or the other? Or?
I don't think when you're writing a song for church that I don't really know how to, like, I mean, I know certain things that are important to me. Range is important to me. I've heard Chris Tomlin say, writing songs for church, you gotta, there's 3 questions you gotta ask about your song. Is can people sing this? And a lot of times you've written a song that you want the church to sing and they can't sing it, So can people sing it? Do they want to sing it? So is it, like, interesting enough that it's like, oh yeah, I want to sing that song. I love that song. I want to sing that song. And then the third question you have to ask about your song is, do people need to sing your song? And so that's sort of where I start. I never had it so clear in my mind, but I'm always thinking about those things. But I don't know. I'll tell you, I don't know that a great church song until, like, you see it in church. And I call certain songs God songs. Like, I wrote a little article at one point called "Good Songs, Great Songs, and God Songs," and I don't know how to write God songs. I know how to write good songs. I know when I've written a great song, but I have no idea how to write a God song, and that's just that little piece that you can't. God just puts His breath on some, and there's others that are just as good, maybe better, but there's not that power in them, and so I don't know how to do those, but I do think differently for church than for radio. because radio, you really want a chorus to pop, right? Like you want hook to be super strong. I don't know. Radio is interesting, though. I mean, I think the minute you think you're writing what's awesome on radio, you're writing what's awesome on radio now. But like, what's going to be a hit on radio a year and a half from now is what somebody just wrote today. That's not what's on radio now. So, if you're trying to write what's on radio right now because you want to be on the radio, you're about 2 years late to that song and that approach. Just write what feels good. Write something that excites you. What?
I agree.
Yeah. Does that cover that? I was also, the other thing I was thinking we should talk a little bit about is for who do you write songs for? And we've kind of touched on this, but we're again, like these questions of like, are you thinking of radio? Are you thinking of church? You're not going to write great songs thinking either of those, really. Like, who are you writing songs for? And we could say we're writing songs for God, you know, or we're writing songs for people, but ultimately the songs that are going to be the most true are the songs you write for yourself. And so when I write songs, they're to God, they're for God. The Bible says to give God an offering of praise. You know, it's something we give to Him. It's like, what a cool thought, you know, that like this is, it's actually like something we're giving. It's a gift, but I still think you have to be writing songs for yourself. Like I was saying before, I write songs that I need in my life. And then I write songs because I have fun with them. You know, I love when I'm writing a song and I'm just jumping up excited because the music or the melody just, I love vocal hooks. So when there's a great hook, like I'm up jumping around the room. So, but that's for myself, right? Like, it's because it's like it makes me happy. And so, is there any thoughts? Is there any questions on? Okay, I'm a songwriter. This is what could I say to you? How could we help you with something as songwriters that you might take away and go, man, I'm glad we had that little 2-minute discussion because I'm gonna be more equipped as a songwriter now. Is there any questions like that? Yeah.
How do you stay productive when you're writing with, say, 4 people like in a band setting? How do you like keep on track and not like force yourself to write
Wow. That's a problematic. It's a problematic situation. How do you write effectively with a band, like all together? How do you stay productive when there's 4 people or more in a room or whatever? Well, the bands who are really good at it have obviously become really good at it over time, learning how to champion the idea. And in that scenario, you usually have someone in the room who kind of is driving the ship. And that's the same in any kind of co-write situation, I think. It's not always the same person. It's usually the person who started with the idea. Unless it's someone who had an idea, but that's all they've got, you know.
How does it work like with you guys and you write with school?
Well, Jason will generally drive. I may come in with an idea. Stu may come in with an idea. But I think the way that you write well as a group is to write with an open-handed kind of mentality. Write with an attitude that the good ideas will keep on coming, so don't save your great idea for your own thing. Just bring it. You know, don't sit there in their room. I've got this really cool idea for a chorus, but if I do it now, it's gone forever. So what? Just bring it. And it's my attitude. It's not the right attitude. It's just my attitude. I think that the creativity is like a river or like a swamp, and you can make a choice whichever one you want to live in. And if you hold on to great ideas and think this may be the only thing I have, then you're in a swamp. But if you just keep the good idea, let go of the good idea, then it keeps the water flowing. It keeps the whole creative juices flowing. And it gives you another opportunity to get another good idea. You know, it's kind of one mentality is a fear-based one. The other one's like this, like I'm childlike. I'm just like a kid in a candy store or something. So in a band situation, you just want to bring whatever you've got. But then if you're one of those guys in the band that I can say it better like this, it's really important to have an effective writing session to understand what you do best and bring that. And it works. There's synergy when it just so happens that all those parts fit together pretty well. You know, if you've got 4 amazing writers in a room and someone said, write a song right now, you can guarantee that they'll instinctively start taking steps forward and start taking steps back. If Jason starts really kind of going with it and walking around the room humming a melody, I don't want to hum a melody louder. That's different. I want to listen to what he's singing and try and throw words at it. Or what if the melody went like this here? Or we've been changing chords every bar. Why don't we try and stretch it out for the chorus? Let's change them every 2 bars. Or without going like louder than he's going. It's like that's when you're in a mess, you know. So you kind of understand, like champion the best idea in the room. Is that fair to say? If there's a great idea and everyone goes, yeah, then stay there. And if it's not your idea, then let more of the idea come out and then just kind of harness it, and don't worry about the fact that maybe one guy's doing a lot of the writing at that point or one girl. Just be a part of it, you know. Does that make sense? But in the band setting, it's a little different. It's a longer story, but it's the same principle.
When you're writing by yourself, you don't start with, you don't try to find the melody first, you start the lyric first, you start the chorus first. How do y'all finish?
For me, it's different every time. Sometimes I might get a lyric idea. It might be something, you know, like a statement. You lose what you don't celebrate. Oh, that's cool. Write it down. That might start a song. But then I might get a little idea in my head melodically. Different every time for me.
Yeah, same. It's different. I most often for me, I lock in a melody before I really work for the words. But it's awesome if there's some words to start with, but most often for me, I get melody first. Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, anytime, even if you weren't writing something personal, but you wrote a song, you're gonna take it super personal because it's always your heart and it's always your art, right? So like, you're it's any someone were to paint a painting and put it up on the wall, we're all gonna critique it, right? Right. Yeah. 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 Well, it is scary. I mean, I have a hard time. We all have a hard time with. I don't necessarily put like all my. I don't spell things out very like specifically necessarily, but I'm more looking at the emotions that are behind things like fear or trust or things like this. But nonetheless, I, I, I anytime I play a new song for anyone, I'm always like I'm always on a bit of an edge, and my wife many times has thought she was saying something nice, and I took it the wrong way, and was in a bad mood for 3 hours, and that's just kind of part of it, you know. So I don't know how to get around that, you know. It's you learn though. You just have to learn that some songs are truly for us, and some songs are for us, and some songs are for us, you know. And we can't always know, but it's part of it.
Yeah. On that as well, I was working with a couple of artists at one point, making a record, and the girl in the group said she wrote this song for one of her friends who miscarried, and the lyric in the first verse went along the lines of, you know, when all the pieces, you know, seem to be like they're shattered on the floor, and the only thing that matters is I can't feel you anymore. That was written, and we weren't going to record it. They weren't going to record it. They didn't want to record it because they felt like it was too personal. And I completely disagree. We ended up starting the EP with that. And it's a song called Reason to Sing. And the whole thing comes around to the end where it's like, I know you have the whole world in your hands, despite the circumstance, and that's the reason to sing, no matter how I feel right now. Well, that, in my opinion, is a song the church needs to sing. That's what I need to sing. But I may not be there right now. You know, the pieces may not feel shattered on the floor right now for me. But Jesus said, if you build your house on the rock, when the storm comes, your house will stand. If you build your house on the sand, when the storm comes, it'll fall. Well, he was talking to the church. He wasn't talking to people who didn't know the truth. And he didn't say if the storm comes, he says when the storm comes. And so we as writers need to write to that truth as well. That there is a real, what I'm trying to say is this: in the church, there is pressure to be okay. There's pressure to be in victory all the time. And the reality is, sometimes we're not. You know, sometimes we're not. Sometimes we don't feel God's presence. And that's okay. Jesus is still Lord. And that's the psalm. That's the song. So we find a balance between writing songs that are like victorious songs and saying I'm going to do things. I'm going to run to your arms. I'm running to your arms. This is what I'm doing. And maybe in my heart I'm not at that point. I'm angry. But it's still healthy for me to sing that song. Because ultimately it's like, that's that prodigal heart, you know. With this situation, she sang that song and said those words. And I said, you know, the tsunami had just happened in Japan. I was like, what song are they going to sing? Some of these people lost everything, you know. And it says, I think it's in Psalms, it says, actually it might be a proverb. I think it's a proverb. But it says, a song of praise to a person in mourning is like broken glass and an open wound. There's a lot to be said for the church being able to sing and okay with singing. You know what? Things are pretty bad right now, but Jesus is still Lord, you know? And so it's a personal thing, and it's hard to bring that. But I think it's really good for your church to deal with that honesty and that openness. The Apostle Paul said, bring your sin into the open, where you can be healed and have victory. It's like our society says, if you get wounded, then cover the wound up. Don't let people see the weakness. Whereas Christianity is bring the wound to the open. Let everyone see the weakness in you so that they can see Christ's strength keeping you going, despite the weakness. Yeah? I don't know if that helps at all. We need to write songs that celebrate I am weak, but He is strong. You know.
How do y'all keep up with or track your ideas when they come to you? What's your method?
My iPhone. I just sing them into my iPhone. Before that was a Ericsson cell phone, and then before that it was a tape cassette.
So y'all aren't old enough. Y'all aren't as old as me with the analog.
I was there, man. He was there. We were there. Yeah, I used to have a little. I still do have a little brown notepad, and I write something in it. But often for me, and for Jason, it's a melody with a lyric idea, and if you lose the melody, you kind of. That's right. I mean, once you lost that melody, it's gone.
Yeah, because I'll think I have this killer verse. Even in the writing process, I'm obsessive, and maybe this is helpful about always recording, because I'll get the verse that I'm just like, oh, it took me forever, and I love it, and then I start working on the chorus, and then I get lost in working on the chorus, and then I'm staring at the verse words and going, I don't remember that melody. And so
Especially if it was interesting.
yeah, and so all the time, just if you're working on a section, make sure you have it. I mean, I have probably 5 recordings from this morning on here, as I was trying to find my way through a verse. And this another little thing. Sometimes I need to hear it back. So if I'm unsure of a melody, and I'm co-writing, I'll say, "Hey, can you sing that?" Because I'm often the guy singing in the room, and I'll be like, "Can you sing that?" And then I get a different perspective on it. And if you're not in a co-write, then put it in your phone and play it back, because your perspective is going to be totally different. Listening back, it's remarkable. So that's really helpful. Just practically, yeah. I have one other thing I want to say to you songwriters that I'm thinking of, that Paul says that your question just made me think of. Strategy for writing verse 2. The problem with verse 2 often is like, if you got everything else, you feel like you're home free, right? So make sure that verse 2 is better than verse 1. And then often you'll make verse 2 verse 1. So the, just make sure that it's better than first verse. And the other thing I would say to that end is, I was thinking about this song that Paul and I wrote together with someone else. If you've got a verse and a chorus and a bridge, this requires a little bit of pain, but figure out what's the weakest of the 3 pieces, and drop the weakest and rewrite it and make it better than the other 2 pieces. Do that 2 or 3 times in a row. The verse is weaker than the chorus and the bridge. Drop the verse, write a verse that's better than the chorus and the bridge. We did it. And then we were looking at a song that had a better verse than the chorus and the bridge. And then so we dropped the bridge and wrote a bridge that was better than the verse we just wrote. And so you do that 2 or 3 times. I mean, it's painful because you worked really hard. I mean, we often think we worked hard on a verse. Well, that's the verse. Felt good when we did it. But then if your chorus is a lot better than your verse, bag it. Write a verse that's better than your chorus. Step it up a couple of times, and you'll listen back and be like, oh my gosh, like that's a big song. Yeah. Yeah, you are in the river. Those your creativity can keep coming. So, don't settle.
Even if it was the first really good idea,
Yeah.
that may have been all it was meant to be.
So often, a song starts with like this great idea that feels like we're all high-fiving, and then 4 hours later, that part's not even the song anymore.
It's dead in the corner
Yeah.
of the room, in the fetal position.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be afraid of that. We're out of time. And we changed your life forever, didn't we? Yeah.